Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new edition of Virtue and Vice right here on the BigVitoBrand.com. And I am Virtue, being joined by the remarkable Robbie Vice, who is traveling the globe in less than 30 seconds, going to different places, as you can see if you're watching this on video. Robbie, what's up, man?
What's up, man? Nothing. The time is coming. I'm moving soon, so that'll all be done. No longer living out of boxes in my apartment. My office behind me is one of the last rooms that I've just left intact because I need a place to do my job and work and not go crazy. But I have taken my sabbatical, my almost 6 months now of not watching wrestling. The last thing I watched was WrestleMania, and I had not watched for about a month prior to that on
Oh,
any
that had
TV.
fans, by the way.
Yeah,
Even though it was an open air stadium, it was 25,000 people.
yeah,
They had fans, right, for
they
two
did.
nights in a row.
Yeah.
And yet, why are people are making a big deal that Double or Nothing had fans?
I think people should be shocked Double or Nothing is still on TV with their 400,000 rating that they did this past week. But no, I digress. So
But,
check
but
this
what
out.
about the NBA playoffs, Robbie?
Right. Yeah, so they say. Here's the thing. I am going to make my return to watching. I'm going to pick one show a week. I actually put a Twitter poll out there. Everyone said I put Dynamite, Raw, NXT, and SmackDown.
I
And
voted on your poll and I picked that you have to watch SmackDown because Roman Reigns is on that show.
that's yeah, and I've been following. People tell me like I shouldn't have a voice because I don't watch it, but I still see it. I still follow it. I still interact with you and
Yeah.
NoDQ.com and Vito, so I know what's happening, and I think the stuff with Roman's great,
Well,
and
yeah, and
that's
you see
that's
the
that's what
clips
I want.
online and the
I see the
gifs and
clips.
all that. And
I don't know if I'm gonna watch it live. Not yet, but I'm going to at least start watching it on demand sometime, maybe every Saturday or something like that. So I'm going to go back to watching that show because I'll tell you what, man, 6 months without doing it has actually been very refreshing. I feel that I could go into it. I'm excited to see they've trimmed their roster. I know a lot of people are upset about that, but let's face it, man, they had a pretty bloated roster, and everyone's upset about Aleister Black and Braun Strowman. Alistair Black, I guess, I think there's some money for him to be made, especially if him and his wife go somewhere. Braun Strowman, though, man, I mean, ever since they had the choo-choo noises on him, I was pretty much over him. And, I
he
hope he
was
makes
getting a
money.
he was making like 1.2 million a year. I can definitely see why they cut
Yeah,
bait with
man.
him. I could
And
even see them
he's
wanting
he's
to
gonna come back.
renegotiate with him.
Yeah, I feel like he's going to be someone that we see in a year down the road. Give us a time off TV, let him heal his body up, and he'll be back, just not making 1.2 mil. Because you know why Vince is doing all this? You know why all these roster cuts are happening? It's because Vince knows AEW is not competition for him. They are not a threat to his business. They are nothing. They are literally, he is showing less regard for them than he showed for TNA at the height of TNA.
Yeah.
That
Now
should
let's
tell you
talk about this. Raw is hitting record lows. I don't know what it did last night as we record this,
1.4,
but
1.8 or something like that.
1.42 on Memorial Day.
Yeah,
SmackDown is now like 1.88, 1.9 for almost a
yeah.
straight month. Remember, I was touting the show with Roman on it, never got under 2 million since he's been back. But like, let's face it, those shows being down like that, specifically, SmackDown is the best, most watched wrestling show out
Oh,
there,
absolutely.
but they're crushing AEW. I mean, remember
By a million views.
AEW on Wednesday night? It got to that over 1 million, maybe a couple times, but then it went right back down.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, moving over to Friday nights, 10 o'clock, people are, oh, it's the NBA. It's a death sentence, 10 to midnight on Friday. Okay, well, they're going down. They couldn't even get their 750,000 diehards to come over from Wednesday night to Friday night. They're getting 520, and then a week later, 462. So, and then I see people like Tito on NoDQ.com giving them the benefit of the doubt. Well, WWE used to be 4 million people, and they're just landsliding so much. Where would AEW be if they were on Fox 8 to 10 on Friday night? Where would they be? Would they be at 1.92 million people?
No, not at all. You know
Okay,
why? Because the biggest
exactly.
audience in wrestling watches WWE. They are the most popular, the most watched wrestling show on the planet. And there's a
Yep.
reason for that. It's because
Even with shitty
eight
creative, they're
oh,
still
shit,
three to
even
four
with the
times
worst
more
creative.
watched than
Look,
the other.
here's the thing. AEW, there's things I like about AEW. I think they have the worst fans on the planet. I think some of their wrestlers, like Marco Stunt, Joey Janela, I think there's a lot of shitty people there who shouldn't be working in the wrestling business as talent, but they're niche. You know what? Say what you say. Orange Cassidy, is he entertaining sometimes? Sure, but that's niche. a very small percentage of the wrestling audience knows who the fuck that is. And
He's
here's the other
entertaining
thing.
when he gets his shit kicked out of him.
Yeah, like that, or that GIF I sent to you of Marco Stunt getting that elbow from that
Oh, that was
job
great.
guy.
I can't believe I missed that.
Yeah, but dude, I mean, don't you agree? It's just a completely niche product for niche people. It's for indie wrestling fans, and it's not the majority of wrestling fans. They may be the loudest, but they are definitely a very small part of the wrestling community.
Dude, when I see, it's almost like indie wrestling is taking over mainstream wrestling, and the casuals are going away, just like the indie fans want.
Yeah.
They don't want it, they want it all to themselves. I mean, why is Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder, and you know he would get paid by Tony Khan, or at least an Impact, right?
Yeah.
Probably where he'd make the most money outside of WWE. Why is he showing up and challenging Nick Gage, whose death match, like Jim Cornette would say, outlaw wrestling? Like, why would, like, I don't get it. You know, like, did you see that? Like,
yeah,
why
he was
would
acting
you
like
do
Moxley,
that?
and he did the double arm DDT after the guy broke
Yeah,
the
had
ball
to fake
his
that it
own
was
head.
Moxley. Like,
Yeah, well, it's because if you get big in the indies, Tony Khan will pay you twice as much as if you
that's a
weren't
good
big on
point.
the indies.
And
He gets the fans to want him there, and then he can say, like, look, your fans want me. And he's, people talk shit about Braun Strowman making 1.2 million. Well, you wait till Orange Cassidy gets that $2 million contract here next year, and see what their fans say. It's gonna happen. I promise you.
I'll give, like, the wrestlers, the ones that really try to be wrestlers. Like, I'm not counting the Marco Stunts, but I'm talking about, like, the Zack Ryders, the Matt Cardonas, even Braun Strowman. Because look at him, he's huge. When those guys have opportunities to make money outside of WWE, and Tony Khan is the money mark that pays them, I actually like that. I'm happy for the wrestlers that can get money in this business. But I hate the fact that Tony Khan thinks he's this great know-it-all of professional wrestling because he's good buddies with Dave Meltzer and he has a lot of his daddy's money. That's the part I hate. If Tony Khan was in the background, we didn't know what he did, and he was just the owner, right, and funding it, I probably would be a lot lighter on AEW. I wouldn't criticize it as much. People gave Vince Russo a hard time for being on TV in WCW during 2000, and yet they give Tony Khan a free pass. This guy, Vince Russo, at least worked with Vince McMahon and knew what the hell he was doing, even though he was throwing a lot of shit at the wall. Tony Khan clearly does not know what he's doing other than spend money. Like, what do you think with that? Am I overzealous with my disdain towards public Tony Khan?
Tony Khan was on record saying he would never be an on-air talent, and I think it should have stayed that way. He's not good on TV. He's not good. At least Vince Russo on TV, whether you like his creative direction or not, was still a character on TV. Yeah, absolutely. Tony Khan is not, and I don't see a world where Tony Khan is the Mr. McMahon character or even the Vince Russo character of the late WCW or Impact or any of the other stuff he did, because he's just not memorable. He comes off as a college kid who took 16 Adderall pills to study for the finals the night before after being up for 18 hours, and then someone shoves a mic in his face and tells him to talk shit about his best friend. Like, it just comes off as a bunch of friends that are sitting around, fucking around, having fun, but it's not serious, man. I miss the days of actual, oh my God, what was his name? Tenny, Jack
Tunney.
Jack Tunney. Yeah, that
Jack
guy.
Tunney, WWF president. Even though we knew Vince did it, well, now we do. Then we didn't.
Or WCW, with J.J. Dillon would come out every once in a great while. J.J. Dillon would have to show up, and fix
Jack Tunney to Gorilla Monsoon before we even knew Vince McMahon was in power.
Yeah, oh yeah, Tunney was before Vince was. It was a rumor, if you were a diehard fan, that, hey, I think that announcer owns the company. But I was like 7, so I didn't know any better. Yeah. But yeah, I don't look. Everyone trying to recreate, and I'm gonna say Vince McMahon and Eric Bischoff were the two best on-air authority figure personalities to ever be in wrestling. I know you're not a huge fan of Bischoff as a businessman,
but I praised his on-air big time.
The most smarmy dick. He is just that slimy used car salesman manager. He was the best thing. I'm changing
my tune on Bischoff a little bit, though. We've had some interactions, so.
Oh, really? Good. Like I said, I think Bischoff, like Russo, a lot of time gets not the benefit of the doubt that he should. And even if you just base him solely as an on-air character, I just felt that Bischoff was better than McMahon in a lot of ways with his on-air persona, and I thought he had a little bit more longevity because he, outside of the Austin feud, Mr. McMahon did it kind of fell flat a little bit, but Bischoff was always just that smarmy, smiling, glad hand motherfucker that just weasel his way into everything, and his karate gimmick where he just looked like an idiot. I just thought he was the best at that chicken shit heel that everyone thinks the Miz is. Eric Bischoff did it a billion times better.
I thought Dixie Carter was better than Tony Khan is now, and that
Not
could be
just
debatable by a lot.
character, you're talking just overall.
Overall, just everything. I mean, like, let's face it. TNA, which was started by Jeff Jarrett, and I think his father, and I know Dixie ended up getting involved.
Yeah.
Even though it's a shell of what it used to be with Impact now, and Scott D'Amore and whoever owns it, Anthem, and it's still technically around. Started in the early 2000s with Vince Russo's creative. So people want to shit on TNA/Impact. It's still technically around.
And it's produced way bigger stars than AEW has.
Yeah, and they did take the route where they took a lot of people from WWE as well, but they also elevated a lot of those Ring of Honor guys, which went through TNA before they got to WWE.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think then? I mean, and we just have too much wrestling on TV, Robbie, and and there's so much talent out there. It's good for the talent to have places to go. Like, I want to see Enzo and Cass back in the mainstream because I'm entertained by those guys, especially Enzo. And so, like you said earlier, right, get popular on the indies, maybe you'll get signed. And I just want AEW to do this. I don't want them to sign people just because the marks want it. If Tony Khan is a smart booker